if the exam is for an important class, you should prepare for the exam. Here's the thing. When I was in college, I went to college for a year and a half to be an engineer. Makes sense. I'm out here coding Pokemon games. That's kind of the STEM type. I was at a nice tech school for robotics engineering. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Left. Went home for half a year. Went to a better school to be an artist. Now, most people might think, hey, that's not a good life decision. But you know what? I'm pretty good at video editing now, so I'm okay with that. Art school didn't have as much to do with 2D animation and video editing as I wanted it to. There was a lot of art history, a lot of like 2D fundamentals. We got up to 4D fundamentals and 5D fundamentals. Worst classes ever. A lot of money for those classes. Terrible classes. But the thing I did to get by, because I don't like doing schoolwork, I don't like doing work for stuff that I don't care about. That's a waste of my valuable time on the earth. So I would rather go out and party when I was in college. I was a bit of a partier. What I would do to survive those classes, if I had a big exam, if I had a project, I would try to act funny. I would get the college professor to think I'm funny and like me, so there was no way they would fail me. But I was in philosophy, and I was really cool with the teacher. The teacher thought I was funny because all I did was sit in the back and say like butt and fart jokes. And one day the teacher's talking about these types of monkeys. And the teacher says, hey, these monkeys communicate by having sex. That's the way they communicate. They fuck. And then he turns and looks me in the eyes, thinking I'm gonna crack a joke. I don't. But he takes that as an opportunity for him to crack a joke. And he says, kind of like Chris. And everyone in the room turns around and stares at me. And they're in shock. They're not laughing. They're in shock because the teacher just said that. He's expecting me to laugh and say something back, and I just kind of go. So then he had apologized to everyone in the class, and he came up to me and said, please don't tell Title IX, please don't tell Title IX. And I said, no, we're cool, it's fine. He was a cool guy. Another class I had was 3D Fundamentals, where we learned how to like build stuff with wood. That was 3D. We did 3D modeling and built it with wood. He said, please laugh. I wasn't a fuckboy. That's the thing, I partied a lot. I was not a fuckboy. I did not communicate by fucking. That was not my thing. I wasn't like those monkeys. He just thought it was funny to say that. But I was in 3D Fundamentals, and we had this big project to end out the class. And the teacher said, hey, I want you all to build something. We're gonna build something that either helps a disabled person play with a dog, or a disabled dog play with a person. Kind of a sweet thing to end the year on. Kind of a difficult thing to end the year on. And he said it was open-ended, so if you could make something in the same vein that's helping people, do it. And we all said, okay. And I had a dog who was blind and deaf. And had a bathroom thing where he just kind of shit everywhere. All over the house all the time his whole life. Now, it was hard to tell if he needed to go to the bathroom because he would just sit at the door and not say a word. So my thought was, hey, what if I made a doormat that would make a noise so we all knew when he had to go to the bathroom? My big idea, Chris's big idea. Put a speaker on a doormat so when the dog steps on it, it makes a sound. The day of class arrives. Everyone's got their projects. Someone has a crossbow they made where you click it and it plays fetch. It shoots a fetch stick. Someone else made a big Rube Goldberg that lets you like feed the dog. You know, you could sit here like this and just go, and then it fills up a dog dish all the way in the other room. Someone else came in and they were like, hey, I made a prosthetic leg that's designed to look like cancer cells if someone had cancer in their legs and lost their leg. It was crazy. They said, it's built so you can ice skate on it. That's crazy. And then it's my turn to present. My turn. I throw a doormat on the floor. It just looks like a doormat. They say, what's this? I say, it's a doormat. Makes a noise when you step on it. They say, okay, can you show us? I go, okay. And I step on it. No noise. So I step on it again. No noise. And I'm starting to sweat because I know how this doormat's built and it's supposed to play a noise. And the teacher says, well, how'd you make it? I said, well, all the electronics are on the bottom. He said, can we see? And nervously, I go to flip over the doormat. And upon flipping it over, I expose that I took the speaker out of a Hallmark card and scotch taped it to the bottom of the doormat. And when I stepped on it, it broke the button attached to the Hallmark card speaker. So the teacher sees this, and he picks it up, and he clicks it, and suddenly the NFL theme starts playing. And he looks me in the eyes. I'm 22. I just made this thing, this beautiful thing. And he says, "What the fuck is this?" So I turned it into a speech. I flipped it around and said, "Well, really, it's a statement on how much money we have as art students. Actually, I couldn't afford to make anything more than this. This is a statement on how badly we're struggling as a society and as college students, as art students living in Boston." And he looks at me and he rubs his chin. And he says, "You know what? God damn it, you're right." And he went on a speech to talk about how poor we all are and how the school might be like hiding money offshore or something. Like it's some crazy fucked up thing. I got a B+. And that is how you survive college. You just make people laugh. You just do stupid things that make people laugh, and that will get you all the way through college. There's this crazy class where people are playing with shadows. They're making weapons to play with your disabled dog. They're making prosthetic legs for people to ice skate. And I come in with a doormat that has a speaker from a Hallmark card scotch taped to the bottom, and I got a B+. It's that easy. Don't do your homework. Don't study. Be a comedian. Everyone likes comedians. What do you mean secondhand embarrassment? I crushed it. I got a degree. Thank you for that story. I will not fail my exams for you, Chris. You're very welcome. That's a true story, by the way. That's all 100% true. I remember... Sorry, I'm going to keep distracting myself here from this nightmare that is this run. I remember my first year as an art student, we had an intro class, you know, as you do when you're like a freshman, but I was 21. Kind of embarrassing. But we had an intro class. And I kind of knew the stuff because it was on video. And the teacher there liked me too. He thought I was funny. So on the day of finals, because it's an intro class, basically all you have to do is show up and they say, "All right, you passed the final," whatever. Because it's an intro class. You're just kind of getting the feel for college, even though I'm 21 at the time. And the day before the final, I decided it was a good idea to go get drunk, party. I had a girl over. Was up very late. And I woke up probably 20 minutes before the class ended. The final on the easiest class in my life. And I said, "Oh no!" I put on some clothes. I smelled like a steak and cheese. I was still drunk. I saw doubles, you know? You know that thing where everything's kind of like, you know? Ran to class. 15-minute run. Make it. 5 minutes to spare. I open the door. I run in. I announce, "I'm here!" And everyone started clapping. Everyone applauded. The teacher applauded. He said, "You made it. You passed." Like 3 minutes before the end of the class. And then they gave me hot chocolate. Because they had hot chocolate there. Shortly after that, we had I think it was like a Renaissance art class. So they took us to the Boston Art Museum. Super cool place. And they did this thing where they took us into the back and showed us real Renaissance art, like actual paintings from the Renaissance that they were like restoring. And they were like, "You can hold this one." And I was drunk. And they made me go up and I'm like, "Oh my God." And I pick it up. I touch this painting from the Renaissance. I think I was a liability. I probably could have costed the school millions of dollars if I did something wrong there. But I made it through. And it was a great day. Worth every second. You're going to say you threw up in one of those Renaissance pictures. I would probably be in jail. If I threw up on a Renaissance painting they were restoring, they'd probably imprison me or I'd owe millions of dollars to the museum. It's all about the charisma stat, baby. My charisma's low, though. In my case, I think I have to have high funny. Or maybe it's just because I'm tall. Maybe it's one of those things where like they're just like, I like him because he's tall. It's like when you see a celebrity on TV and they make the worst joke you've ever heard, but it like kills ribs, you know? It's a gut buster for some other people for some reason. When I make jokes at school, people probably laugh at me and not at my joke. My thing in school was like, I think I was funny, But until college, I was like too nervous to actually make jokes. I hope to God we survived. So I remember like in 3rd grade, we had a substitute. Please kill it. God damn it. We had a substitute that filled in for like most of a year because our poor teacher had like a family thing going on. But at the end of like January, they said, hey, your actual teacher's actually going to come in now. The substitute's done. So we had this giant thing among like 3 of our classrooms where they were saying like a little send off to the substitute teacher, like, thank you. Even though she didn't teach us shit, you know, she was a substitute teacher. She didn't teach us shit. But I remember sitting in the class and she was just kind of like, now, does anyone have nice things to say about me before I take off here? Does anyone have a nice thing to say? Which, by the way, you know, people will have a send-off at work or something or whatever it is when they're done with the company or whatever. You don't sit there and go, does anyone have anything nice to say about me? You don't do that. That's pretentious as hell. But she did that. And everyone's going around, people are putting their hands up, and they're like, hi, yes, you have a huge dumper. And then the room would clap. They're like, oh, good job, that was a nice thing. And I remember I was sitting next to my brother in the class. And I turned to him and I whispered because I was too nervous to say it out loud myself. And I was like, hey, Alex, I have a really good joke. He's like, what? What is it? What is it? I'm like, ask to use the bathroom. So my brother, braver than I, puts his hand up. 3rd grade, she says, you have anything nice to say about me? Yes, Alex. And he goes, I need to use the bathroom. And the whole room started laughing. It was like a roar of laughter from these 3rd graders. And I sat there with a big smile cheek to cheek because I was like, that's my joke. I did that. That's really the work of me. Years later, people still talk about the joke. It's still like, you know, 6th grade, 7th grade, people are still talking about it. They treat Alex like he's the one who made the joke. And I'd correct them and go, no, that was my idea. That was my joke. That was my joke. Back in college, I would usually try to be proactive during questions. Just raise my hand whenever the professor asked a question, even if I didn't know the answer. It makes you stand out among the rest. It makes you a nerd, dude. It's awful when you make a joke, someone copies it and gets more notoriety. I used to like, because I was so nervous when I was really little, like 3rd grade through 8th grade probably, I would say a joke. I'd say it quietly so nobody would hear it and nobody would laugh. And then I had a friend named Cody. He would repeat it louder and then the room would roar with laughter. I'd go, damn it, Cody's funnier than me. Even though it's the same exact joke. Kids in school never forget things. I was in my senior year and we still ragged on a classmate for that one time in 1st grade when he kissed a girl and she cried because he was ugly. Oh, that sucks. You're a dirty uncle.